Hi, I'm Christina Johnson and I'm Associate Curator of the FIDM Museum. I've been reviewing some of our past unboxing stories and I noticed that we haven't done any menswear, so today that's going to change. We're standing in our menswear storage and here you see some of our loungewear from the early 19th century to the 1940s. You saw some of our hanging menswear, and now I'd like to focus on some pieces that are boxed. Sometimes we box things because the pieces are delicate, and honestly sometimes we box things to save space. Let's take a look at what's inside of this box. It is filled with men's 19th century waistcoats or vests. This man's waistcoat dates to the mid-1850s, and it's one of my favorites because if you take a close look, woven in is a pattern of dice or dominoes. Another waistcoat from the mid-1850s, this one with a floral pattern which is of cut, uncut, and voided velvet. Here's the reverse of the waistcoat, and you can see that the fabric is much plainer. It's a less expensive polished cotton because that would not have shown. And look at the interior of the front waistcoat. There's actually a leather strip, and that would have prevented a braiding on the interior when it was worn. And here's the half belt that's on the reverse, and you can see this very sharp kind of buckle here that would have pierced the half belt. We don't store it that way because that would damage the fabric. A fashion plate from our museum's special collections, and this one's really helpful because it's dated October 31st, 1843, and you can see these gents do wear waistcoats, a plaid version here, the middle is somewhat plain, and then maybe a check on the far right. This example dates to the later 1830s, and it's hand embroidered flowers on velvet. Let me take this tissue out for you. You can see all of these bouquets all along the sides. In terms of donations, the FIDM Museum often receives pieces that were worn for special occasions by their owners, like wedding gowns or christening gowns, and in the case of menswear, we often receive wedding waistcoats. I do think this is a wedding waistcoat because of how decorative and florid it is. This waistcoat is a bit earlier. It's hand embroidered satin, and a detail I think is really neat is that the embroidery has been continued inside the pocket here. Do you see? I know it's difficult to tell on this Instagram story, but this is padded. It's entirely padded, and that was probably done, maybe it was worn in the winter or perhaps to attain a certain fashionable ideal, a broad chest. And look, inside that leather strip. Another mid-1850s waistcoat. This one looks so good on camera. And I want to show you something really cool, and that is that it has a maker's mark, a very early example of labeled clothing. This is from Worcester, Massachusetts. Here's the last waistcoat we'll be talking about today, and one of my favorites. I saved the best for last, obviously. Can you see all of the little foxes on there? They've been embroidered in Berlin wool work on that vivid, vivid blue wool. These foxes likely reference the hunt, and this vest was probably made at home, and I tell you this because look at this, lifting the lapel. Someone got tired and didn't want to finish embroidering those faces.